Hey there, guys. Welcome back to a long overdue series. Not good things about bad monsters. I'm honestly blanking out on the name. Oh, yeah, supplements from D&D that you should have but probably don't. In this episode, I'm going to cover a special PDF that will be coming up soon. And I would have printed it off, but it would take a lot of ink, and I don't really want to go anywhere to do that. So, yeah, I'm going to have to do this in PDF style, so I should move the camera a little bit. So I probably have room on that side. Yeah, I do. So this one, because Halloween's coming up and I've always wanted to cover this, is an Adventurers League Halloween event that premiered in 2018 that almost nobody knows about, but I think works really well. It is called All Liars Night. All Liars Night is a temporary event. I can't remember how many sessions it would have run for. It might mention it here, but I'm not really going to read it all over. I'm just going to give the synopsis. So the synopsis is that your characters will start out in a town of your choosing, but since it's Adventurers League, most likely it'd be something like Waterdeep or Phandalin or something like that. Or like whatever, or a common town or city in whatever campaign you would usually have, or campaign setting that your players would usually be in. And basically, at the beginning of All Liars Night, a certain merchant, per se, shows up called the Colonel. Some would call him the Candy King, others call him the Sugar Fiend, but most know him as the Colonel, hidden in the darkest alley behind an innocent pile of forgotten refuse. Atop a hoard of Liar's Night sweets, you will find a cranium rat impossible to mistake for anyone but the Colonel. The Colonel will trade you candy corn in exchange for his Liar's Night loot. And he is a cranium rat, which I can't remember if they're in the Player's Handbook, or not Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual. If not, they're totally in Volo's, but either way, just look up what a cranium rat is. I'll probably put one on the screen as we're talking. But the cranium rat is just a more intelligent rat, essentially, usually created by Mind Flayers. This is one specifically made for the Halloween event. But basically, his purpose is that as your players earn a special currency from this event, candy corn, which you can also make really fun for your players by bringing in real candy corn or a snack they enjoy and handing out an amount that they get throughout the night as they earn it. They don't have to save it or anything, you just got to keep track of the amount you have, but it's just fun for people to have the physical candy as well. It'll also remind them as they jot it down. Now, basically he's a merchant that you trade the special currency, candy corn, for unique rewards for the character that you use for it that you can then bring along to other things, which I think should be allowed by any DM. And show your DM this video, and me specifically saying this, because they don't actually change that much. There's a lot of them have unique fun abilities, and they are magic items, but I'm going to say this, that player earned them. And, it might not necessarily fit with your campaign, but I don't think they're going to be that game-breaking, and if they are breaking your game, then you have bigger holes to worry about. That's it. But anyway, I'll go over them after. I will personally go after them. No, I'm not going to go after them. I will just say one, and just as an example, and then leave the rest up to you. I will leave a download of these PDFs in the description. Hopefully I can. If not, I'll figure out a way to make sure for people to be able to read these. But anyway, here's a special one. It's a this is the second most expensive item. I'll just have something really big here. All of them are kind of like this. They're either unique magic items or they are kind of low tier to mid-tier magic items that have been modified with Halloween effects. This one is... Oh, what? Oh, okay. This one requires some special qualifications as well to get, which I will talk about in a minute. But it is a bag of trick-or-treats. or the bag of trick or treats, as if I wanted to say it thematically. It's wondrous item uncommon, much like the bag of tricks. But this ordinary bag, made from an orange and black striped cloth, appears empty. Reaching inside the bag, however, reveals the presence of crinkly wrapped candies. The bag otherwise acts as a gray bag of tricks, except the following numbers on the D8 table have been replaced and summon creatures hostile towards you. So it's actually not beneficial at all, unless if you're creative. Because think about it, you have to actually throw them, and you could potentially just create chaos, because 5, 6, 7, and 8 have been changed. 5 is a Dretch, 6 is a Quasit, 7 is an Imp, and 8 is a Hellhound. The rest of them are normal, and if you ask your DM nicely, or if your DM just decides to do this out of the flavor, the first 4 can be Halloween themed in how they look, or like fall colors, like a New England animal or something. So the rules of the event are simple. You start with your players, averaging, of course, the encounter of what you're going to use in tiers. That's kind of a confusing way to put it. All the encounters come in different tiers, and based on your players' overall levels, you should plan accordingly. Start with some low-level ones from each wave, and then move up to the end. So, yes, there are multiple waves of the event, and usually how this goes, you do 1 or 2 encounters from every wave, moving up to wave 4. And, sorry, I've been drinking some milk, and let's see. Basically, you just have to complete each encounter. Some of them do require some special things that you need to do in order to get the reward, but generally speaking, as long as you do the reward, you get a certain amount of candy corn. The monsters explode into it, or it's just like a natural reward. And if your players are creative, they can usually get more out of it, such as like different events and stuff, or different like items and stuff. There is some things There is one thing I'm confused about, which is like some of the rewards on the table. It says this reward is an unlock, which costs 2 TCP of tier 1 or higher. And I'm not entirely sure what that means, because I know tier 1 is the encounter itself. Though, to be fair, TCP could mean just like the amount of encounters you've done. So like you need to do like 8 tier 1 higher ones to unlock the ghost sheet, for instance, which is like one of the mid-range ones. And I guess the bag of tricks requires 16, so I guess that's not a huge deal, as long as you know what you're doing. And so now I'm going to give just a couple examples. The rules are, like I already mentioned, the rules. For each wandering monster encounter, by the way, resolved or defeated, each player is rewarded with 10 candy corn. Each person can benefit from a wandering monster reward once. They can play the encounter more than once, but they do not receive the reward again. DMs earn candy corn at the same rate as their players, because this is it was a whole experience. And I do like it. It's a really nice event. It's kind of like how the bonus adventure for when Ravnica came out was ran, with all the special materials, which I really loved, but this just sounds like a plus, honestly, because it involves other characters and everything. So let's start with some tier 1. I've got a few, from wave 1. They're not all necessarily tier 1. So each wave has varying difficulties. Of course, the waves are easier to harder, wave 1 to 4, but yeah. So let's use the basic one, the absolute most basic one. Trick or trick. Basically, how this will work is, while you're running this encounter, pretend like it's Harvest Tide or some other Halloween-esque holiday in the realm, and that they're doing preparations or helping about, or make them do like an actual full quest line or something. Just sprinkle this in. But this is the encounter that you'd be running for Wave 1. A group of costume goblins have been terrifying local neighborhoods, threatening horrible tricks and pranks if they are not given candies. Unbeknownst to these tiny troublemakers, however, their posse has been infiltrated by the trickiest, the prankiest, the worst creature, the Nilbog. The Nilbog appears to be another goblin, its identity hidden behind a Liar's Night mask. It has fed the other goblins a special poison candy that gives them bellyaches and turns them into grumpy little fighting machines. This was an event that was a little bit kid-esque, that's why those descriptions are like that, but all in all, it's still really cool because it does give a lot of interesting stat blocks and fun encounters. So for this one, what'll happen is, the players, your players are either at home at night, or if they're the type of players that go to an inn, have this be like a troop that goes like into the inn, because basically these 9 costume goblins and 1 Nilbog knock on the door and demand candy. The Nilbog appears to be another costume goblin with a mask. Enraged by a lack of candy or by the Nilbog's poisoned sweets finally taking hold, the mob of goblins attack, complaining of their sick tummies the entire time. Although the goblins can be defeated as a battle, you might allow a DC 13 Wisdom medicine check or healing magic to aid individual goblins. Goblin help this way stop fighting and either flee or cower out of harm's way. And in order to make it a better encounter for like stronger parties, you just add more Nilbogs. Because if you don't know, Nilbogs are kind of hard to kill. So first we have costume goblins, which I'll try and get a picture up. Otherwise, I'll try and cut one out. But a costume goblin is not too much different. Well, it probably is different. I'm not actively looking at the goblin stat block, but it does have a separate weapon, which is the candy sack, which is just a bludge. I kind of like it. It's just like... And then the Nilbog still has basically just the normal Nilbog stuff. It doesn't have anything new. Anybody who doesn't know, the Nilbog, it has very low health, but in response to another creature dealing damage to it, the Nilbog reduces the damage to 0 and regains 1d6 hit points as a reaction. So once per turn, it just can't die, as long as it has that reaction. And then it has some spells and a few other tricky abilities and stuff. It's a really cool monster, and I think you can definitely make it harder. It becomes a tier 2. So I think things can go up either to tier 4 or tier 5. But this is a tier 1 encounter. Adding more Nilbogs makes it tier 2. So yeah, that's one from wave 1. Moving on to wave 2. There's a few special ones. There's apparently only really 2 in this wave, but I think they're probably a bit modifiable. I think you can also skip over them if you think of it like they're too hard, or if you want to run like another wave 1, for instance, if you have an especially low level party. I'm just going to do the first one from every category. In this one, specifically, the Harvest Golem Haunting. A wise recluse hides in a nearby house, building a farm that is protected by a vicious jack-o'-lantern. It is a wise recluse hiding in a nearby house, building, or farm that is protected by a vicious jack-o'-lantern. My apologies. The local recluse, Howard Littletoes, male halfling, is rumored to be a font of wisdom, but doesn't receive visitors. He has created a harvest golem and ordered it to drive off anyone who might seek to bother him. The lane to his home, his fields, his front porch are decorated with lit jack-o'-lanterns. One more of them is a golem in disguise, using its false appearance ability, which is really interesting. This is a unique golem specifically for this. I will throw up the stat block. Hopefully, I'm not blocking the camera, am I? Hopefully here. But the Harvest Golem specifically will be used as such. This encounter is easily included in an existing adventure. Howard is a is wise in the ways of men, nature, and the arcane. He can offer all sorts of advice if only the supplicant can reach him. Rumors say that as the day wears thin and night falls, his bitterness wanes, as Howard can even be convinced to answer a few questions. To get to him, the party will have to cross paths with a harvest golem. Howard himself is unwilling to exit his home, but anyone that gets inside his locked door, DC 13, is welcome to stay and ask questions. Howard makes an excellent source for answers when characters have failed to locate it through other avenues. The encounter is a tier. This encounter is a tier 1, but can be scaled up to tier 2 by hiding 4 harvest golems about his property. So jumping it, that's actually that's a pretty large jump there. But as you can probably tell from the stat block, the harvest golem is pretty tough as like early enemies go. Does it actually have a challenge rating? Yeah, it does. Challenge 3. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty decent, honestly. I honestly think this would be a fun golem to make just on its own. You can just make one of the instruction manuals like in the DMG, but just for this and have it all Halloween themed. You could even offer it as like a bonus reward or something. I think, yeah, it's especially good because you can have it amongst a ton of jack-o'-lanterns, because as you can see by false appearance, while the golem remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from a normal jack-o'-lantern. When animated, a burlap-covered body of a scarecrow unfolds from underneath the hovering pumpkin, which is really cool because it's essentially just a ghost. It cannot move. If you can see the top, I hope I'm pointing to the top. It cannot move normally, but it can teleport. And it has claws and fire breath, which is awesome. And it has the terrifying transformation. And I don't get why there's so many, like this one, like there was a couple minor spelling errors with the last one. But I think, to be fair, this was just the thrown together event, I think. But any creature within 30 feet who witnesses the gold animate. Anyway, moving on. I hope this video isn't too long, but to Wave 3. Oh, this one's cool. I just forgot because there's a lot of great ones. I do suggest, by the way, for as encounters go, the other one in this, which is greater than gold, but I'm going to be talking about Get Mazed. Fae aren't the only ones who haunt a local corn maze, as the description goes. Anyway, visitors travel from far and wide to explore the local town's annual Liar's Night corn maze. All hope to catch a glimpse of the mysterious poplings, Fae creatures who look like corn cobs with arms and legs, who are drawn to the material plane every year by this seasonal attraction. But this year, a cursed Minotaur Scarecrow waits to enrage the poplings. Once they pop, these Fae don't stop. And how to use it? Have the players explore the corn maze by rolling 3 rounds of intelligence investigation checks. If they beat DC 15, they continue further towards the center of the maze. If they fail the check by 9 or less, they gain 1 popling follower and continue into the maze. If they fail the check by 10 or more, they gain 1 more popling follower and get terribly lost. Make a note that they will join the end encounter 1 initiative round later. So, like, players will slowly split up by this line of thinking. And, luckily, I think how it would work would be quick enough that it wouldn't really get boring, because you would just have them continuously roll for this as they're going through the maze. And luckily, there is plenty of reason not to burn down this maze, because 1, doesn't actually have anything that creepy about it, and 2, they'd be afraid they would harm the Fae, which angering the Fae is never a good idea. But anyway, players can encourage poplings to follow them or easily shoo them away. When the players reach the center of the maze, the Minotaur Scarecrows activate with glowing red eyes. 2 Minotaur Scarecrows and any present poplings attack. This encounter is optimized for Tier 2. It can be adjusted for Tier 1 by limiting the poplings to 1 per player and removing 1 Minotaur. It says skeleton, but I know it just means scarecrow. I think they were obviously, like, basing a lot of this. They probably based it off of the Minotaur skeleton from the Monster Manual, but then realized they wanted something more unique, so they changed everything to Minotaur scarecrows, which I will hope... First, I'll put up the Popling, and I'll leave that up for a little bit. There's nothing really that unique about it. I like it. It's very funny. I like how the popcorn is on fire, but it's a very nice tiny Fey enemy. And... oh, okay. Meanwhile, there is the Minotaur Scarecrow. I know Minotaur would also work, but which is really interesting. It has a lot of unique Minotaur features. It has some like undead features, or not undead, but like construct features. It's chaotic evil, but that's still cool. And which for this, and I do like its special ability because the Labyrinthian Demiplane is called Get Mazed, so I'm assuming that they must have forgotten to add like a little... It's basically like the banish to like a maze type area. I'm not sure Minotaurs can do that. 1 second. Okay, Minotaurs can't do that, but this is pretty cool then, because it basically just banishes them to a demiplane with like a maze, and I'm assuming by the name that it would probably be also Khorne. But either way, I really like it. It's a fun encounter. I don't know if there's any special... Yeah, some encounters do give bonus candy, and usually you just have to beating the creatures makes them explode into the candy, and then once the encounter's over, everybody gets 10. Individually, 10 apiece. And some encounters do offer bonus candy. Or not really bonus candy. I don't think there's bonus candy, at least. Either way. Check out the Greater Than Gold adventure after this one, if I have the description running and everything, for the Kenku Chemist. Oh my god, it's amazing. And then finally, last but certainly not least, we're moving on to the Festive Presence from Wave 4. There's only, similar to the other ones, there's only 2, and number 2 is really unique and is actually applicable to campaigns as well, because it introduces a new type of what is called a Vengeance Spirit, which basically allows enemies that you have defeated in the past to come back with a special spiritual powerful stat block and hunt you down across the land, which is a really good plot point, I will say. Now, moving on to Festive Presence, the Colonel's greatest foe appears as Liar's Night nears its end. And actually, you know what? This one's just really cool, and I don't want to spoil it. DMs, and anybody who's just interested in reading it, this is unique, and I'd love to see what spins you can make on it. I will say it is very Dungeons & Dragons-y, and I'm excited to play it myself later at some point. But I'm instead going to talk about what goes around comes around, talking about the Vengeance Spirit a little bit. Throughout an adventurer's career, choices are made, foes are dispatched, and oaths are sworn. Sometimes in the pursuit of one's legend, an agent of a deity or a power ends up on the losing side of a fight, and that otherworldly entity may see fit to return that agent to life with a simple goal: vengeance. Many deities and patrons have used this ability, though very few know how to channel it with a specific intent. Vengeance spirits are often created as a repose or a response to a god's passionate exclamation of loss. These disembodied spirits possess a host that is of the same race as the agent that was originally slain. If no creature was slain, the spirit will take possession of some agent of the Creator's will, and will do everything in their considerable power to track down and eliminate the offending transgressor. While technically classified as a devil, vengeance spirits can be spawned by a significantly powerful source of any origin or alignment that is at least CR 28. So, Krakens, Tarask, do it. Reports of vengeance spirits are extremely rare in the world, and most are simply exaggerations shared over a mug of mulled wine. They appear as normal creatures to everyone but their assigned transgressor, who views them as the same creature but with a flaming bare skull and empty sockets that threaten to swallow whatever they lock their dire gaze upon. In the situation, the characters have been recently committed a significant crime or defeated a major adversary, perhaps a paladin of a dark god or an empowered agent of Malar, such as a dire owlbear or the ancient druid of the land. Or maybe they've stolen the Waterhavian origins, the Waterhavian orphanages run by the clerics of Amontor. Whatever the case, a vengeance spirit has been dispatched against one of the characters. While it appears as a normal creature to most viewers, only the transgressor can see its flaming visage and feel the pure hatred that emanates from its palpable, visceral waves. The encounter works best if characters have recently completed a major task or dispatched blah blah blah. You get that one, it makes sense. And they just hear rumors of a strange creature that has recently appeared in the area, and allow the person who is the focus of this to view the creature a few different times. And a vengeance spirit will only attack when it's assured of its own victory, and will do so anywhere in any climate. It prefers to attack when the transgressor's guard is down, such as sleeping, resting, or studying their spells. This encounter is for Tier 3 or Tier 4 tables. Apply the provided template next page to a desired creature. The Vengeance Spirit template can be applied to any creature that has a CR of no more than half of the transgressor's level. Minimum CR 5. So it's always going to be CR 5 or above, but otherwise it's half of the transgressors. Can be applied to any creature of no more than half of the transgressor's level. So a maximum of CR 10. Which is sad because I wanted there. Though to be fair, DMs, you can break this rule if you want to make something insane. Because it is pretty insane. So, any beast or humanoid can become a vengeance spirit. When a creature becomes a vengeance spirit, it retains all its statistics except as noted below. Any beast or humanoid. That adds a little bit more annoyance, but still legitimate. The vengeance spirit's type changes to fiend, devil. Its home plane does not change. The vengeance spirit gains blind sight with a radius of 30 feet. You know what? I can just put up the stat block. Boom. There it is. Take a good look at the Tier 3 and Tier 4 abilities. It is pretty cool. Yeah, it adds some just nice abilities to the creature that already exists, making them already pretty powerful. And if you really wanted to be funny, like if you have a high-level party, you can combine it with the creature from the last encounter, especially if you wanted to shove in some more candy corn, because the last creature is CR5. I feel like this is on purpose, honestly, because, let's see, is there any lore here? There's nothing here, but either way, I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry if this went a bit long, but I just always wanted to cover this. These are fun encounters. Sadly, there's only 9 of them. And you can, of course, come up with more, but it has a unique reward system. I can't believe it's actually run as an event once. It has so many unique stat blocks and items and stuff that, yeah, I just hope people get to use it. And I think it works really. It can be slid into campaigns pretty well. It can, even just individual encounters can be really fun to use. It has some unique concepts such as a vengeance spirit, and a few other types of encounters, like the maze. Like, that's a really fun way to run a maze. Or like a simple maze, not like a maze campaign or anything. But anyway, I've been running Lorekeeper, and I've got another video to record, and maybe a Whisper 101 stream, so I will see you all later. Bye.